It's not hard to find articles from the gaming press that are heaping endless praise on Gone Home. It's a Unity project released in 2013 for the PC platform. But if you were to look for actual criticism of the title from these gaming sites, you would have a hard time finding it. There are a few possible reasons as to why this is, though I suspect that the main one is that many of the writers working for these sites just lack the experience necessary to understand why Gone Home is so flawed, and why anyone who has any semblance of taste would find it disappointing. But I'll get to that in a minute. Now, there has been plenty of criticism from gamers themselves, though much of that's flawed as well. The one that's been said the most is that Gone Home is not a video game. And as criticism at least, that argument isn't very strong. Take One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, for example. No one would ever describe that as a video game, yet it certainly doesn't mean it doesn't have any value. And at the same time, just because something is a game does not automatically make it worth your time and hard-earned money. So to be perfectly honest, the debate as to whether Gone Home is or is not a game is pretty pointless. There are plenty of other avenues for criticizing the title beyond product classification. But really, the biggest issue with Gone Home is that as a Yuri title, as a story about a relationship between two female characters, it pretty much fails miserably. Yeah, one of the main things that the game was trying to accomplish, it's just terrible at. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why Gone Home is so disappointing. Well, that is, unless one were to mistakenly believe that Gone Home is a horror game. But that would just be crazy, right? In regards to the quality of the narrative, Gone Home is about on par with a little Yuri manga called Shiroi Heina no Futari. And honestly, their shortcomings are much the same. Yes, this Unity title that came out in 2013 is about the same quality as a Japanese comic book that came out in 1971. The main issue with both lies in the poor attempt at a tragic ending. If you haven't already read it, the comic is about Rezine, a girl who recently enrolls in an all-girl boarding school, where she meets Simone, and over the course of the story, the two of them form a rather close relationship. But because Rezine is never able to admit her feelings for Simone, the story ends with Simone's death, leaving Rezine to live the rest of her life without a lover. Now, contrast that with Gone Home's ending. The TLDR is that Lonnie, the story's love interest character, comes back to Sam, effectively going AWOL, and then the two of them rob her parents blind and then go off together to some undisclosed location. Now, ignoring all the surface level issues with Gone Home's ending, ignoring the issue of Lonnie going AWOL and the fact that they certainly cost their parents no small amount of money, and the fact that they're technically homeless now, even ignoring all of that and more, the ending is still terrible for one big reason. Sam, the actual main character of Gone Home, had to do absolutely nothing to achieve it. There was no moment in the story where Sam had to overcome some great obstacle to be with Lonnie again. Her happy ending, if you could call it that, was basically handed to her without effort. What would have been a much more believable ending would be if the story ended with Sam finding it in her to move on after Lonnie moved away, because, you know, they're teenagers, and that's usually what happens to every romantic relationship formed in those years. Very few people carry their high school relationships with them to college. Now compare that with the ending of Shiroi Heia no Futari. There's really no reason why Rezine would carry the torch for Simone for the rest of her life. It might take some time, but eventually she'd overcome Simone's death and move on and meet someone else to be with. The only issue would be finding another girl who would find her attractive, since, you know, it was the 70s. Now, the English translation of Shiroi Heia no Futari was finished on May 27th of 2004, so there was plenty of time before Gone Home was released to read it. And really, that just goes to show a lack of experience on the part of the gaming press, who praises this game so highly. Not only a lack of experience with the Yuri genre, but with storytelling and games in general. If they had played I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison and the team at the Dreamers Guild, they'd know that gay tragedy has been a part of video games since the mid-90s. If they'd read the best-selling novel The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, they'd know that stories like Gone Home have been cliché since the late 90s. And if they spent any time doing actual research into the market, they'd know that there's no shortage of stories about the relationship between female characters in either video games or other mediums. Hell, even if they ignored the massive collection of Yuri manga that has been translated by fan groups, there's still a number of series in the genre that Seven Seas has officially published in English. So by this point, it has become readily apparent that the gaming press, the people that treat Gone Home as if it were the Citizen Kane of gaming, have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. It's almost as if none of them have even heard of creators such as Morinaga Milk or Morishima Akiko or even Namori. And it's also painfully obvious that they lack any knowledge of the vast history of video games. They just lack the experience needed to properly judge the quality of the games that they're reviewing. And because of that, they're basically useless as reviewers. Maybe this is why they just trust their friends to tell them what games are good or not.